In this week's video we start to rebuild the Tohatsu, and of course it doesn't all go to plan. Just dry fitted this lever, look, you can now see how that works. No! Next, and I've just dropped the ball. Oh no, he's dropped the ball! So, what do I have before me? Well, I have Tohatsu part 3AB-66130-0. What is that? Well, it is, let's put that on there, the new handle for the Tohatsu, so we can start rebuilding that engine. I'm just going to show you the other handle, which was the one that was sent to me by the Amazon people. I still haven't heard back from Amazon. I've heard absolutely nothing, and nothing from the Chinese supplier. There we go. Right, so this is the one that Amazon sent me. You can see it's, I mean, it's similar in shape. Here we've got bigger shaft, bigger, flatter. It's got 3 indents in there, and if you remember back in the last film I said I should only have 2, so it's got those. This is a genuine part. It doesn't come with the O-ring, but luckily I have a box of O-rings. Obviously the engine's drained of oil. That top end there has all been cleaned. Just got to wipe that down, put the gasket on, and slowly start assembling, I guess, which is the reverse of what we were doing before. We start assembly. I just thought I'd let you know the part number for the gasket. So this is the engine block, the top half there, and then the leg. They have to be split apart to get this gear lever in, and you need this gasket to be replaced, unless you're very lucky. Part number 3AB-61012-0, and it's a drive shaft housing gasket. That's the part number there. So let's get some acetone and a rag, start cleaning up the top end of this drive, ready to mount that on. And then the next piece that has to go on is the bottom of the clamshell on there. You remember those 4 bolts that held that in? We'll have to clean those bolts up as well. Alright, get on with that. Just dry fitted this lever, look, you can now see how that works. I haven't put the O-rings on. I've just dry fitted it to make sure I get it the right way round. There's a washer to go before this clip here, and then of course there's the indent balls and spring to go in there. You need to put that on, or you need to put that in before you put the gasket on or any of the other bits, because you won't get to it. So I'm going to start that. First thing I'm going to do is look through our O-rings box, which my charming assistant has just got for me, and find the ones that are the right size, and then we'll grease them up and put it in and do the R04, this size here that we fitted on. Let's show you there. In that hole there, just to hold the spring in, and then a bit of grease on that ball to hold the ball on the spring, and then we're going to push some grease onto that lever, push the lever in the right position, and hope that we can get everything lined up. But I can't hold the camera at the same time, so my assistant will give me a hand. It's on there. We'll put that Xerk fitting back in to push the grease in, and that ball has got to go in there. Just quite a tight fit, and then what I've got to do is there's a washer that goes on there next, and I've just dropped the ball. Oh no, he's dropped the ball. So that's, yeah, and now I need to put the washer on there, which is in the yogurt pot. And then I've got to pull this lever into position over the top of that. There we go. And then there's a little nut bolt that goes in there. It's just a bolt with a spring on the top. Hang on, get my hands out of the way. I'm going to need a screwdriver. So that indent ball is pushing that out. I'm pushing it in with my other finger. I've got to try and get... There we go. Like that, and then get that. No! Alright, keep going. So I'm having to push the lever in against the indent ball. Oh, Cindy does that screwdriver up and holds the camera, which is...
And balance.
And balance.
On a moving boat.
On a moving boat, yeah. So ambidextrous and multitasking. So what happened was we dropped that screw, or I dropped that screw down there, which is exactly what I didn't want to happen. And now I have to just pinch it up really tight. What should happen now is, if we've done this right, this lever now clicks up and down. So that's in gear, that's out of gear. In gear, out of gear. And then there's a little Xerk fitting that goes on there, which we'll put in now. And that Xerk fitting goes in there. I'm surprised because I thought when I cleaned that out that went right into this back chamber. Perhaps it does. Right, so that's that bit done, and then we put the grease gun. Whee. So I've got to put that bit of grease on there. We then put the grease gun on that and pump that full of grease. Oh. It's taking a lot of pressure to do that. Well, I have got to rebuild this bit here. I think the best thing to do now is to clean the bolts up that hold that clamshell piece on and put that on. I've cleaned all this up in here with a bronze brush and cleaned it all inside. So, using a bronze brush, cleaned all this out, wiped it with acetone, I'll just wipe round that again before I put the gasket on, and I'll seal it with a little bit of Helmar. But I think what we'll do is we'll clean these out, put clean bolts in there, and or clean the bolts that go in there, put this clamshell on, because that's the easiest way to hold this about. I think I might put a little bit more grease on this, because that does have a lot of hot water running through it, hot salty water. That's it. So that's our 4 bolts, 4 washers. I've cleaned all those up. Just run a bolt through these holes to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4 are all clean, which they are. And now we'll drop the clamshell on top of that. We'll drop the washers onto each bolt, and then we'll just pinch them down. And the torque for those, it is around 8 Newton meters. Sorry, 8 feet-pounds. M6, they're just coated, they're not stainless. Just run them straight through. Right, let's get a socket to do those up. You've got to be a bit careful with it. Dugger gun, because it's just got to be careful. And then get our 10mm spanner. And just pinch them up. I mean, not taking any load. And there's an aluminium crush washer, or aluminum as the Americans will call it, crush washer underneath that goes into the plastic, stops you crushing the plastic. There's somebody's car alarm going off in the background. Now I cleaned all those bolts up, look. Come on. That's it. And now I'll just get some thinness again, and I'm going to wipe this down and then put the gasket on the top. But yeah, this needs to be cleaned before, and we put the gasket on here. The reason I'm putting it on there is because we'll get some gravity assist when we drop the engine down on top. Let's make sure that's still working. Yeah, look at that. Right, so next job, acetone, rag, clean all this up again, make sure we haven't got any grease on it, a bit of gasket sealant on there, just a light coating of Helmar, and drop the gasket down into position, and then we drop the engine block down onto that, making sure that the drive shaft, which is this piece here, locates in the bottom of the engine. It won't actually go into gear at the moment because this push rod that goes down there is actually released at the bottom. Yeah, and then you adjust it afterwards so that you can get it to go into gear in exactly the right position. Now you want to sort of dab it on the tiniest amount. It's really just a gasket seal. So you can't get this the wrong way around, he said. You lay that down there like that. Just press it down. That's it. And then I'm going to do the same on the top of this so that it only seals when the engine's actually down on top of it. The only pressure that this has on it is the fact the exhaust is blown out there. So it's not, you know, it's not like oil pressure or something that it has. It's just the pressure of the water column on the outside. So, and the exhaust on the inside. So the exhaust is blowing the water out of the leg, and of course the exhaust gases. So that's why it's all exhaust gases and water in here. That's about it. I think that's there. Okay. Pointy end down. Something's not engaging. It's got another inch.
Just go forward.
Yes. It's not engaging with the gear at the... Aha! That's it. Right, let's get a couple of bolts in. Okay, I'll just get the digger gun and just pull them on so that, and then I can turn this up the wrong way and do them properly. Oh, the camera can see it. Okay, so I'll tighten those all up, and they're the same 8 feet-pounds. 8 feet-pounds. So do that one first, and diagonally opposite. Can go back on there, and that gives us something to handle it by. Let's just push those in there. And
What's that spring for?
what spring line? That's the spring that goes on the adjuster. So there's an adjuster that sets up the torque when you move the engine round, but the bolt's been broken at some point. That's 2. Okay, and I could do this bit now, I think. Well, we've got it upside down, we might as well. There's no oil in the engine. Okay, so there's a big plastic collar there. Okay, so we've had a spot of lunch and kind of looked at it and figured it out without the distractions. Dun, dun, dun. So this has a, see that, this has a little nodule on it, this rubber thing, and that goes in there, and I remember that this goes round there, so I had it in the right place. And then there's a clamp which goes over the top that way round, and that engages with these 2 detents there. Now, so you put this all together, and normally I'd grease it before it goes together, but actually what I'm going to do is grease it afterwards, because I don't want grease all over the back of the boat. If we were in the workshop, then yeah, that'd be fine. It doesn't take a lot. I suppose I could put a little bit on there. And a little bit under here. And then that fits into there, like that. That's it. And then this turns and fits on the other side. Grease on that, and the wider ones are going at the top, like that. And we have 4 bolts going there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just no need to like wind them really hard, just half a grunt. That's it. Okay, so we turn it back up the other way now. We can start putting all the connections on. Okay. This is the float bowl at the bottom. Fuel comes in here, goes into the float bowl. When the float is down, it opens a little valve. I'll show you that now. I think we can take this off without too many issues. It's clearly been off before because the screws are chewed up by not using the right size screwdriver. Let's have a look. Usually the bowl is a good indicator of what kind of condition the carburetor is in. Now, I was told that this one was fairly new. There's no way that's a new carburetor. It's inside of it's pretty dirty. In the bottom of the carburetor there's this screw. When you finish with your engine for the winter, you undo the screw and you take out the screw, and you see that muck around there. That's what happens if you leave the fuel in the bottom of the carburetor bowl. It turns to muck and corrodes up. So just clean this up really quickly. I'll put it in the drills that are not sponsored. So you just literally just nip it home, don't need to do anything more. The next thing is, this is the bowl. This is the bowl and this is the float. So as this float goes up and down, it opens that little valve there. And so to make sure that that valve is allowing fuel in, you can blow in there. And you can't blow when the float's up. When the float's down, it allows air in. So that's one way of checking that little valve. That pin should come out towards me like that. That allows that little valve to fall into the carburetor. Okay, there's that little valve, look. And that gets lifted up and down by the float. And it has a little rubber end on it. which seals off inside there. So we're just going to strip it down a little bit further for the main jet. Let's just move these bits out of the way. I'll put them in that bowl for now, then we won't lose them. So we're just going to undo this. Oh, that's not very tight. Take that out. And just... that doesn't want to come out, does it? Get that in there. There we go. Okay. You can see down in there it's... yeah, I can see into there, so that's clean. That's one of these wires on this wire brush. If you can see that on the GoPro as well, just a single wire through the emulsion tube there. Make sure it's clean. It does appear to be pretty clean, but that's definitely clean now. So no need for carb cleaner or anything, it's all... there's actually something really tiny inside there, I can see. Just hold it up against something white. That's gone now. That's on the end of there. It looks like lime scale. It can't be lime scale. So, that's what came out. Whatever that is.
Camera.
Can't see it on the camera, no?
I don't think so.
You see it on the GoPro. But actually I can see through this now. That might have been the problem. Let's put that back in. That way up. And then put the securing nut back in. Make sure that's clear. Do the same again. Hold it up to the light. Yeah, I can see right through that. The wind's got up, hasn't it? Look at that. Again, don't crank it up tight. Just pinch it, literally. Okay. Right, that's the idle jet. We'll just have that out. I'm going to need a smaller screwdriver to get that idle jet out. We know the main jet's okay. We'll take the idle jet out and just make sure that's all clean in there. I'll do that while the bottom's off. That out. So first thing I'll do is screw it home. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. 5, 4.5 turns. That's far too much, methinks. I think that's been running really rich. 5 turns. Ah, look, more of that white stuff has come out. Okay. And it's on the end of that. It's on the end of that jet. Just clean. That. clean now. Let's have a look in that hole. Where are we? That's clear now. Yeah. I think that might have been what the problem was. That it was, normally what you do is you screw them right home and then undo them 1.5 turns as a starter. So let's do that. Let's home. We'll go 1.5. Let's go 2. Okay. Butterfly's working okay. Choke. Yeah. Main jet. It's all everything seems to be okay on it now. There was a bit of muck in there, wasn't there? But okay, let's put the carburetor back on. Connect up the carburetor, throttle, the choke, and then we'll just check the spark plug, and then I think we'll put the petrol tank on and see if it starts. Right. That into there, and then that pin goes back through. Through there, come on. That appears to be okay. You can actually bend that. You can actually bend that lever up and down to adjust the float height, but it should be okay. Let's check this gasket. Come on. In you go. Again, just pinch them home. Looks like okay. Let's put that back in. That way up. And then put the securing nut back in. Make sure that's clear. Do the same again. Hold it up to the light. Yeah, I can see right through that. Wind's got up, hasn't it? Look at that. Again, don't crank it up tight. Just pinch it, literally. Okay. Right, that's the idle jet. We'll just have that out. I'm going to need a smaller screwdriver to get that idle jet out. We know the main jet's okay. We'll take the idle jet out and just make sure that's all clean in there. I'll do that while the bottom's off. Okay, let's get a smaller screwdriver. So I'm going to take that out. So first thing I'll do is screw it home. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. 4.5 turns. That's far too much, methinks. I think that's been running really rich. 5 turns. Ah, look, more of that white stuff has come out. Okay. And it's on the end of that. It's on the end of that jet. It's clean now. Where's that little bronze brush?
Get over there, it's got to be there.
Okay, we'll just take that little bronze brush, just clean that. That's clean now. Let's have a look in that hole. Where are we? That's clear now. Yep. I think that might have been what the problem was. That it was, normally what you do is you screw them right home and then undo them 1.5 turns as a starter. So let's do that. That's home. We'll go 1.5. Let's go 2. Okay. Butterfly's working okay. Choke. Yeah. Main jet. It's all everything seems to be okay on it now. There was a bit of muck in there, wasn't there? But okay, let's put the carburetor back on. Connect up the carburetor, the throttle, the choke, and then we'll just check the spark plug, and then I think we'll put the petrol tank on and see if it starts. Right. See in there? So one of the things you've got to do is push this fuel tap. Hello, that was a GoPro. Push this fuel tap back into position. Make sure you've got it off and you've got the fuel tap turned fully clockwise when viewed from the top. Then that hose will go up to your carburetor and from your fuel tank. Okay, so we've got that done. Let's put the carburetor back on, exactly the reverse of the way we took it off, so it fits on there. 2 long bolts in, and show you what that looks like when we've done that. That's it. And now we could put the carburetor back on the engine along with the airbox and connect up all those other bits and bobs. Let's do that. That's it. So that's the carburetor on. Goes in now. Like that. That goes down there. Air hose back on. Just tighten up those carburetor bolts. That's it. Make sure you get the gaskets round the right way, because if you don't get them round the right way, you actually restrict that. So that's the fuel hose, that's got to go on there. And then that one there is, oh, that's a bit, that's better. That's the coil. This one is the throttle cable that comes up here. That through there, like that. It says up on it, so presumably that means up. That goes through there like that and gets crimped by that single bolt and washer over there like that. That's better, isn't it? So the choke then pulls that there. That's okay, so just pull that out and then that goes through there like that. Closed, open, closed, that's it. Now we're cooking on gas. Goes through there. One goes through there. And that's the long one, that's got to go through there, isn't it? That. And then all we've got to do is figure out how this works. Tricky. I'll put a bit of grease on there. Probably easier to put it on my fingers. Right, so the throttle cable comes up here. It's a push and pull, push pull. So as I open the throttle up, this is throttle down, that's throttle up. It pushes, pulls on those two cables, which are now nicely greased. That rotates this, which pushes this bar. Again, put a little bit on. Now I think there should be some kind of spring or something there to close that down, but there doesn't seem to be. You would think, wouldn't you, that would always try and pull back to be off, but there's no spring on there.
Maybe there was and somebody else lost it.
Maybe. Right, so wipe my hand.
You're on now.
Right, the last thing to do is to just check those adjusters are just pinched up. Which they are, and then we need to put the fuel tank back on. We're going to put that up the other way because the old way it's perished. Can you hear something? I can hear rattling in there. I know what it is. The piece of plastic that would stop that coming out is inside the tank, but the tank, actually, well, it's not going to do any harm, but you won't get it out because it's bigger than the hole, because it's designed to stop that cap from coming out. It just sits there, the cap would just sit there like that.
So ideally we could get a new cap.
Well, ideally we should get a new tank, but not. There's no point. It's not going to do any harm in there. One. Three of those now, then one. Oh, this is working, and it's pushing this lever inside here up and down, out on my finger, and now we just have to reconnect it onto there inside. If you can see, probably not.
Unless you
Can it, yeah. Inside there, inside here, there's a push rod, and that push rod is linked to the push rod that goes all the way up there that puts it in and out of gear. So the wind got up and completely ruined this piece of footage, but what I'm explaining here is this nut actually undoes and does up on an adjuster block with two holes that grip onto the two push rods. You simply adjust them so it goes in and out of gear. Okay, we have now to fill the oil up and the fuel up. It's going to be a lot easier than it was, but it isn't.
no, it's the boat's moving. That's
The
fine.
boat is moving so much, with people coming in and out, and just
Wind.
general wind and what have you. So this is the filler where we're going to fill it up. There's an oil hole, a viewing window here, so it's got the lower and the fill mark there. When I emptied it out, this was completely covered, so it was obviously had too much oil in it. And then I'll put some fuel in. We'll stand it in the bucket and see if we can get it to start. Oil up to the line, fuel on, nothing leaking out of the fuel so far.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Water in the bucket, engine stand there. Okay, let's give it a little bit of choke. So, that wants a bit of grease on it. I'm going to have to put this down. Put the camera down while I start it.
The easiest way to get it started, put it on the dinghy. And it's working fine. Needs a few adjustments, I believe.
Once it's warmed up, what I've got to do is tune it up now. Well, there we go, guys. The saga of the Tohatsu 3.5 horsepower is just about over. Or is it? You'll have to subscribe to find out. It costs you nothing and it really helps us out with YouTube's algorithm. Gives us a little bit of free promotion. If you've enjoyed this, don't forget to like and share it among your friends. Until next time, remember, wear that kill cord and sail safe. From Sid and I, see you next time.